Work, 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 work.
Yeah, just get the message.
Excellent connection. One viewer waiting. Wonderful. Good. The dog's going to start barking. This will be great. All right, we are up. We are running. We are live. Here we go. All right, man. Here we go
All right,
again.
let's do it.
Talent Talk number 2. Jay and I are going to be bringing in, Mr. Dan Fantasia in about a minute. I think we are ready to go to bring him in. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's get Mr. Dan up and running.
Mm-mm-mm. Look at him.
Dan,
I like that. That's a
Look at
good
him.
background. I like that
Look at him.
background. You look good.
Is that are we live?
We
yeah,
are
we're
very
live.
live. What are you kidding
Oh, I
me?
love that. All right,
I know we
good.
talked the other day, but Dave built that wall.
Oh,
It's
yeah. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good.
I can do this because we have no viewers right now. So this is perfect.
Yeah,
I can
that's
show it.
pretty
nice.
handy. It's
It
pretty
looks
handy.
it looks better than the dog that's going to be barking in about 2 seconds. So
You know what's funny? I actually thought that was maybe digital, but that looks pretty good.
no, that's one of those print jobs. I've actually got a
Yeah.
few. I'm like, which one do I like the best? And my daughter picked that one. She goes, Dad, looks. I said, done. I said, that looks
It
like
does look good.
it's in a building. You
Yeah.
already had a podcast this morning. You've already been busy.
No, that was Chris, another guy, Chris.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
you did. Okay.
I was sharing it. Yeah, no, I
Oh,
shared a
okay.
different one. Yeah,
Okay, I was gonna say you're a
yeah,
wanted
gentlemen.
quantity, man. You're all over the place.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
uh,
It's good to see you
you
guys.
got to start charging fees for this for being on all these podcasts.
Yeah, no, I love it. Like talking with just hanging out and talking with you guys, is just so good. It really is. Like it's good brainstorming. I feel like we need to do it more, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. I mean, and our
Um,
friend Toronto has yelled at Jay. I mean, he wants us to do these like once a day. We do have a
No
company to
place on
run.
earth wants us to
We
do
do we
this
do
once a
we,
day.
we do have some work to do.
he's a great guy. He's motivated. He's gonna push. You got
That's
to
what he
do it.
does. That's
Yeah,
why he gets paid the big bucks. But
yeah.
no, I mean, I don't want to ruin an introduction on Treeline and who you are. But yeah, talk about you and your company for a couple seconds, just so people know who you are.
Yeah, well, my name is Dan Fantasia. I'm the CEO of Treeline Incorporated. We're an executive search firm. We're exclusive to the recruitment of sales professionals, and we've been in business since March of 2001, so 24 years now.
Yeah.
And it's been great. It's
Yeah.
been great. Plenty of ups and downs, right? Yeah, you guys
No, I
know.
don't know what you're talking about. It's
I
all
mean, that's just
ups.
the last 5 years, let
Yeah.
alone the first 20.
Right,
You know,
Jay.
Owning a
Yeah.
staffing, owning a staff. I just got a text from Dave Toronto. Bullshit. Or at least we know he's watching. Hi, Dave.
yeah.
How are you, buddy? That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, the ups and
Yeah.
downs.
2001, man. So that timing, though, I mean, you start your company and then the end of that year, not so fun, right? September 11th. I mean, so that must have been
Yeah,
tough to
you know
get
what?
through 6 months in.
Oh my God. You know what? It's funny, Jay, you said that. I obviously I left Diversified, which is the company I was
Yeah.
at. And I'm good friends with Tony, and he's like, "Oh, you got to stay, man." I was the top producer, managing partner, so on and so forth. I said, it's time for me to go. He's like, "What can I do to convince you to stay?" I said, "Well, I've already rented the space, so
Right.
I'm moving on." He said, "Great, come on, let me go check it out, whatever." So I took him to the new space that I was going to move into, and I think it was like a month later. But and in that time, talk about small business. So I rented the space like a week before I was supposed to move in. They said, "We're moving you." Right?
Awesome.
Small,
Nice.
right? Small corporation. They don't care. They moved us. So now I had to get back in touch with Verizon. Remember all this stuff? Get
Yeah.
set up, start in the office. So I was March of 2001. I had a little tiny lobby, a little tiny one interview room, and I had a bullpen. And then I'd show up every day by myself with a suit and tie on, with a company
That's
named
awesome.
Treeline, which no
Yeah.
one knew what the heck that was. They thought I was an arborist. And and then we just started. I started going. I hired my first employee probably about a month later, and then September 11th happened 6 months
Yeah.
later. Like the
Right.
timing couldn't be worse. We didn't even close, I think, our first deal until I think it was October or November.
Wow.
So when you start a new company, you guys know you've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really got to stick your neck out there, and then you got to believe. There's a lot of belief, and you got
Yep.
to work really
Yeah.
hard to kind of get things done.
And that's the thing. When you started it, I mean, when Jay convinced me that Higher Alliance is going to be a company that puts other staffing professionals to work, and I still think he's an idiot for that.
Boy,
I
what a dummy Dave
whatever.
was.
What a dumb idea that was.
Yeah.
But for you, the niche, sales recruiting, came from where, and you'd never veered from that, or has Treeline ever tried to poke into other industries, or has it just been sales recruiting the whole time?
Just sales. That's all
Sales.
we.
Yep.
It's
Okay.
all we do. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there's. It's tough. Sales is tough. So
Mhm.
the good news is, it's yeah. The good news is we built a really strong niche. The bad news is that there's a lot of people that give the industry a bad name, and they pop up and then they disappear. They start in sales and then they get out because
Yep.
it's a tough industry to stick with. But we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
We love it. We understand it. And so as a result, we've helped so many candidates. We've changed so many lives. It's as you guys have. It's like
Yeah.
it's a great feeling, and especially if you do it for the right reason. And I know you guys believe in this. If the worst case scenario is helping someone find an opportunity that doesn't work out, now you've disrupted their career. They're pissed. The client's pissed. Everyone's angry. And so
Yeah.
as fast as companies want to grow and just make placements, it was never our philosophy. We wanted to make good placements, and by doing so, we've been able to sustain ourselves for 24 years and help great people change their lives and find companies that they can sustain a healthy career at. And that produces, you know, loyalty and referrals. And it might be slower than some people would like, but man, it feels good.
Yeah.
It is tough convincing the folks you hire to understand what that really means. Because sometimes you may have to have a tough conversation that leads to not making a deal. You find something out, some backdoor reference, something happens, and the
Yeah.
candidate you thought you had is not the one you had. And you've got to come clean to the client. And, the young kids that get in, well, wait a minute, they're not going to hire the person. That's right. Because this
Yeah.
person's not,
That's right.
they shouldn't hire this person. And it takes a little while for that to sink in and go that this will actually lead to a lot more relationships and business for you down the road
Yeah.
because now you're building trust with these clients, because that's not an easy conversation to have. But once they see that, you can almost see the light bulb go off, when the young kid finally starts to understand how important transparency is. You could see them kind of take off after
Yeah.
that.
When you're one of the hardest things for us to train, this is the wrong wording on this, but what's really hard to train is honesty in your forecast. An
Mm,
honest forecast. So when you're looking at all these folks that you're working with that you love and you think you're going to help finding the opportunity, tell me what's really going on,
Mm.
yeah,
right? Well,
yeah,
this person actually said that they're not sure if it's the right fit because the commute's too far, or their husband or wife doesn't think it's a great fit, or if they think it's too risky, right? Or they're giving these signs that it's not a great fit. So okay, so what are we doing? We're just trying to force it
yeah,
because you're thinking about like revenue. That's not how we work. We're like, all right, let's get our feet on the ground here. Let's honestly think about this. So set your expectations that this might not be the right fit for this person, and that's okay. So how much time and effort are you going to be focusing on trying to help this person find the wrong job, as opposed to, okay, let's buckle down and keep building pipeline to find the right person for the right job,
Right.
right?
yeah,
That honesty is
yeah,
hard. Like
yeah.
when you're first getting started, like
It is.
let's
It
slow
is
down a little bit.
because it's so hard to get people, but the only cure to that is volume. The more
Right.
people you have,
Yeah.
the more each one matters less.
Yeah.
But when you got that one pending and you're hanging on to it for dear life, it's like that's not going to happen. There's
Yeah.
no you
So
get
true.
startled. You know.
Yeah. It's so true.
But the one thing the three of us have in common, owning our own agencies and being passionate about our own companies and passionate about making sure the people that are on our teams are successful, which is basically what the three of us care the most about,
Yeah.
is that the people that are on our teams are making the money that they can be and giving them the tools they have and all that stuff. So I mean, the passion is there, but I guess, and a buddy of mine brought this up, another softball parent that my daughter's 17, and one of the softball dads is also in the staffing business. And we were talking about the ups and downs and how shitty the market's been, and how crazy it's been. And we were looking at our daughters, and I said, what would you do if your kid said that they wanted to get into the staffing industry? And I know you've got kids, right? You've got a couple kids.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's right.
How old are your kids?
22, 19, 17.
So if any of them said, Dad, I think I want to get into the staffing industry, what would you say?
Well, so is it in at Treeline or on their own?
Into the staffing industry. They want to go work for XYZ agency. I'm not going to start naming agencies, but I mean, they want to go into the staffing agency industry. What would you
All
tell
right. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd say no, not to Treeline. They have to go figure it out and
Yeah.
find it. They got to
them?
find
Yeah,
their passion on their own.
not working
And then the
dead.
second thing I would say is, sure, if that's what you want to do, let me explain to you what the industry looks like, what the challenges are, what's good and bad about it, and then you can decide. I would give them guidance, knowing that they have got to figure it out on their own. Like my dad owned his own company. It was a monogramming firm. I'm not sure if you know what that is, but you know, a lot of times people think you'll take over the business, but I grew up in that business. I was burnt out of it because I
Yeah.
grew up in it. Like that's not a passion of mine.
Yep.
I just couldn't do it. So if one of my kids said I'd like to join Treeline, I'd say you can't. You've got to go find your own passion because if you're not passionate toward the business you're in, how are you going to be successful?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the
Yeah.
funny thing, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm listening to that question. I think it depends on the kid. I think the advantage is we know what this business is, we know what it isn't, we know how hard it is, and where if they're ready to go, I think it's a phenomenal industry for a number of reasons, right? We've been jaded, we've been doing this so long, we want to kill everyone all the time, but the industry itself, when you think about it, it's a sales job, but it's unlike most other sales jobs. You really do have a lot of control over your product. Right?
Mm,
You're not
mm,
selling the iPhone. You're not hanging on to something that someone else made, and then if that thing isn't good anymore, you now have to find another job. So, we kind of create our own products. We've got our clients, and you can make a lot of money doing this job, and you're not working weekends shoveling snow off cars, and you're not killing yourself flying all over the country all the time, depending on especially if you're
mm,
in the local business. So I think, there's tremendous upside in this industry. I'd tell both of my kids all about it. I like you. I don't think we want them at Higher Alliance. You know what I mean? Like the nepotism alone is bad, but I would want them to explore it if they're wired to do this. I do believe, you got to be kind of wired to be
mm.
in sales. This is a sales job. There's a lot of value we bring, but it's commission driven. You got to be motivated to be successful, and that means there's money at the end of the rainbow. But you've got to be wired to do it. You got
Okay.
to be wired to do it.
You
I
know
think Alyssa would be great. I think
the
she should be in staff. She could run a company tomorrow.
I would punch her dead in the face if she said she was doing this. I have a different opinion on it. I do not know. I mean, again, but because we weren't passionate about this industry until we were in it.
Mm,
Right. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
I
mm,
again, I eventually challenge anybody to tell me an industry that is billions of dollars big, but you didn't go to school for it. And
mm,
I know someone's going to say, what about this industry? And I'm sure there are. But as far as an industry where 99.9% of it are in it, fell into it
mm.
by accident. The three of us did not go to school to be in staffing, to be in staffing.
Well, I'll tell you, my first job out of school was selling insurance and finances. Right.
Ew.
I've got a
Even
finance minor, and I thought I was going to be like Gordon Gecko, who greed is good. And 6 months, well, probably 6 minutes into that job, I knew, like I was forcing myself to read the Wall Street Journal. Right. I mean, like I didn't really love it the way the people around me, I could tell, loved it. I'm like, I'm never going to be good at this, and dumped
Mm,
out of it. Fell into staffing, but there was a click, the button clicked there because I could create more value. It felt, with helping a candidate find a job than telling someone about stocks. But it is, I agree with you 100%, Dan. It's all about passion,
Yep.
what you really care about, because that's what gets you up every day.
mm.
You know,
Yeah, the other interesting thing about our business is the service, right? So, in the gold rush, you know who made all the money in the gold rush?
who
Not the
wasn't
people
me?
digging, not the people digging for gold. It was Levi's. It was
Yeah,
the picks, the shovels, the axes, right? And then the gold rush, up. And some nice thing business is that these technologies, so this industry down, other one is ramping up.
right.
And when those are ramping up, one of the first things they need is they need strong salespeople. If they're not, no matter how good the product is, if they can't get it to market, they can't grow. So for us, and I'm sure for you as well, our services are built around those growing industries where we're not in an industry that's just, you know, dying and pivoting. We're focused on the growth industries. At least that's my perspective.
Right. Right.
yeah.
Right. Right.
No, that makes
Right.
sense. Well, when
Yeah.
you talk about technology, I mean, if you fast forward from 2001 to today, obviously the big topic out there is AI this, AI that, the
Mhm.
robots are coming, get ready. But I want to hear about that story you told about your experience recently with Chat GPT and how that's entered into your life and
Yeah,
your
so brand new for us, two clients. What they do is they take our candidates, they put them in a chat GPT prompt, and then the chat prompt rejects or approves the candidate, and then they send it back to us with rejected or approved. Now that's crazy. That's totally new. Now that's just happening this week. So this is hot off the press for us,
yeah.
right? This
Wow.
is 2 days ago. We had two candidates because they think they were a good fit. Now that is
Terrifying.
interesting. Yeah.
I,
Because it's
I say
all
terrifying.
data. It's all
Yeah.
data.
Right.
There's no personality. There's no social interaction. There's no personality characteristics that you've identified as being strong, especially in sales and in our business. And so chat alone can't, we've already done the interview. We know how good and strong the person is. The client to reject that person and not use any human perspective, I think is just a mistake.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're placing salespeople, right?
Right.
I mean, that's all about personality and grit and the resume isn't gonna, chat can't figure out grit, grind, personality off a piece of paper. I
That's
just
right.
that is quite terrifying
It's
to
not
me.
one, it's two clients. It's not one. It's
It's
not like
two.
it's two
Yeah.
in the software industry, which is
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. And I mean, the powers that be at these companies, are you tie is there a communication with them or is it all electronic? I mean, is there somebody on the phone that
Yes.
can you get a live body to talk to, or is that all through, AI?
So the feedback's coming back electronically, but
Okay.
the
Right.
communication is live. Yeah. So we're adapting. We've got to figure out, okay, hold on a second. Let's
Yeah.
just digest this and figure out what's changing because our business is constantly changing. And so we're looking to change with it. And if that's a more common, see what happens is if that becomes a more common use of chat, then the industry will pivot. They'll adjust. So now your recruiters will start writing about how great a candidate is through ChatGPT
Right.
so that they can get the client to approve. It just starts
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
turn in this really messy,
Yeah.
uh, it's not authentic or genuine.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It'll be interesting. I don't know where we're going with it, guys. I'm sure you're going to face the same thing, but we're
Uh,
trying to learn from it. We're trying to talk to our clients, and we're just trying to understand, how to move forward, basically.
Yeah, and we've been, again, the old guys in the business as far as introducing AI and ChatGPT into our company. I just don't know where we need it yet. Right? I don't know where it fits because of that human element, because of that, you see everybody selling it on LinkedIn and we will take away all of the cumbersome things that a recruiter has to do and all the admin duties and blah blah blah, and we'll streamline the process. I mean, Jay, what have we added to Higher Alliance in the AI world, if anything, yet? Job
yeah. Well,
openings, stuff like
a
that,
lot of
just
it
nothing yet.
requires you to hire someone to run it, manage it, or build it, into your systems, which I find is challenging. It's somebody has to own it, especially like a lot of the, we've tried the automations. I don't know if you've done any of that stuff, Dan, or have you brought any AI in, and they can work, but again, someone's going to own building those automations. They don't really kind of tell you that when they sell you this stuff. And so we really haven't had a whole lot of luck with any of that technology. But I don't know if you have, Dan. I don't know if you brought anything in
Yeah.
that's AI related.
Yeah, I mean, so we do a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, there's some pretty cool stuff out there. And we're always trying, we're always failing and falling flat on our face to find the things that work. But for example, we actually use Gemini, not Chat, but you can use Gemini. You can run a search on, you know, if whatever you want. You can do healthcare companies. You can do software security companies. You can be super specific, and you can say, or how about this? Um, Gemini list, and produce a CSV file of me of every recruiting firm in Massachusetts that is between 20 and 100 people, and it will list that. Then you could take that CSV and you could dump it into a clay table. And so now you have a clay table. Do you guys know what clay is? Oh
I'm gonna
man, you guys
say
it's pretty cool stuff. You dump it into a clay table and then you can do a waterfall over it. So then you put all these companies in the clay table. Then you ask for, are any of these companies looking to hire a recruiter? And then it will spit out, these are the companies looking to hire a recruiter. Great. Who is the CEO, CRO, whatever in these companies that, tell me who these people are with, name, title, and email address. And then it will produce. So you can take chat, produce a list of these companies that you think that meet your ICP. You could dump it into Clay, and then Clay could run all the algorithms on these prompts to give you a list of people that have jobs that are open, that are hiring, that now you're going to reach out to.
Okay,
All
done.
right. Well, don't we feel stupid, Dave? I think we should get on that right away.
No, but isn't that, it's just good for all of us, right?
Jay, I've been telling you to get
Clay.
Clay for 5 years, and you've been saying no. So I mean, it's just I don't
I
understand
thought you
your
wanted to have
hesitation.
some
Yeah, you
clay
got to look
ball.
at
I
it.
didn't know what you're talking about.
You got to check it out. Check out these clay
Yeah.
tables. It's pretty cool stuff. So, but yeah, you can really you can optimize your. And if you guys want to brainstorm about this after or whatever, or
Yeah,
here, or
sure.
whatever,
Yeah.
it's just ideas to think about.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm curious, and on the staffing side, not the corporate recruiting side, because that's a different world, but on the staffing agency side, what tools are working?
Mm.
What tools are they bringing in, and what is it replacing? What is it? Is it allowing your team to be more streamlined, to do more production, blah blah, or is it just an add-on? Is it is
Yeah.
is it freeing up more time for them to do more work or not? But this
Well,
sounds like it's creating more targeted searches is what it's doing.
well, you know what you could do? You could take the job description.
Yep.
You could plug it into, and you probably already do this. You could plug it into Gemini or Chat, and then you could say, build a list of every company that competes with, this organization based on, this company profile. Then
Yeah.
you could even say, even after that, you could ask it for people that are employed in that kind of role. Find me every salesperson that works at this company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
could take that list and you could export it. You can do a lot. And there is a lot. You have to have the team thinking, like our team right now is thinking constantly, brainstorming once every Wednesday, getting together. What have you tried? What's working? What doesn't work? Most of it's like this failed, this stunk, this was no good. But then someone's like, I did this and this worked pretty good. And I got 5 candidates out that are really good, and 3 of them are interviewing. You're like, okay, that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, everyone's going to want to jump on that and figure
Yeah.
out what that person did. So, all right, Jay, we have some homework to do. So,
Yeah. And by we mean you, because we know that I am not the technical guy in the
I mean,
room.
don't you guys get overwhelmed? Technology's moving so fast, it's
Oh, yeah.
overwhelming. I think
Yeah.
it's hard to even keep up with, but you got to try at some level. Or you need to put together groups, brainstorming groups on how they're using technology and
Yeah.
what's working and what's not.
yep. The consistent theme I see out there when people post stuff about AI, or the staffing agency people jump on those things. You're not going to replace the human element. You're not going to replace the human element with AI. You can't. What you're describing with that client, and going
Yeah.
as far as just the interviews. I don't want some computer interviewing our candidates. We don't want that. Too many
No,
nuances.
no.
And I don't think that's ever going to happen in environments, especially boutique agencies like ours, where AI is going to completely replace the recruiters that are doing the job. So not too worried about that.
Yeah, again, the personality characteristics,
Yeah.
the only way you can figure that out is with a meeting, a call, a discussion. All the other tools are great to help you find the right people faster, but they still need to pick up the phone. They still need to show interest that they're considering new opportunities. They still need to have dialogue with you.
Right.
Then they have to like the organization, the role, the compensation, the locate. I mean, there is like,
Yeah.
getting the talent faster is helpful, but you still have to then call and qualify and speak with all of these individuals to see if they're even interested in a next step or in the opportunity that you have. So there's still a lot of heavy lifting. It's not like you just match everything together. There's too many variables.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And there's an emotional part to it, right? People don't make decisions in a vacuum. They're making a big decision to leave a job to take another job. There's emotions that go into that I'm pretty sure, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think AI is there yet, where they're going to understand
Yeah.
the emotional quotient of what they're dealing with there. It's just black and white facts
Yeah.
on that stuff. It's still terrifying to me that companies are disqualifying on just the resume, because how many times in our lives doing this has the call to the client been, hey, listen, I know the resume is all over the place, but I've talked to this person, I've met them, you've got to talk to them. Like there's something about them that I think is a perfect fit for what you've got going on over there. And it doesn't always end up in a hire. It will usually end up in a conversation or an interview. But there are times that it has. And we know that we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples of people that have jobs that they wouldn't have got just on their resume. No doubt.
Yeah, it's so true. And well, even look at all of us,
Yeah.
right? I was working the night shift at a company, then I became a manager, and I went to Diversified Communications looking for a new opportunity, and they said, "Hey, hold on a second.
Mhm.
What about this?" Right? I don't know about you guys, but I was
Yeah.
like, what is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know
Yeah.
what is this?
Yeah.
And then when I started, I don't know how it was for you guys. We started one of the interviews was to be there all day, and all I did was cold call through the yellow pages. And I remember saying to myself, "Wow, this is pretty miserable." And then they said, "Wait, we want you. We want to hire you." I'm like, "Wow, do I want to do this or not?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And then I got in, and uh, I remember every day I'd leave the office, I'd get on the way to the office. I'm like, "All right, I can do this. Today's gonna be the best day of my life. Today's gonna be the best day of my life. I'm gonna hammer that phone book, but it's gonna be the best day of my life."
Phone
Yeah.
books. Oh, the phone book.
Phone books. Remember,
Honestly.
imagine that they're trying to convince someone to come to the office, take time out of your day,
Yeah.
drive to the office, meet with me so that I can tell you about a new opportunity. Remember that?
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Yeah, we
Man.
were in Salem, New Hampshire. We're trying to get people from Boston to drive up. They're like, "Where's Salem? Why am
I
I going to go to
know.
New Hampshire to meet you? You're not even the client. Like what? Yeah, and we
Yeah.
did it. We
Yeah.
did it. I mean, if we
We
were
did
trying to
it.
do that today, we'd have people just running away screaming.
Well, rewind to 1996, 1997. We're sitting in a cubicle office in Salem, New Hampshire, Jay, in suits and ties.
Yeah, yeah. That's the. Well, Dan, you
Sitting
were
and sitting
alone.
in.
I love that you went with a suit and tie alone. I love it.
That's amazing.
Alone.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. And that was a little later. That was 2001.
Jesus.
I
Yeah,
know.
right.
I didn't. We were shooting tie for. Yeah, you can imagine. We were shooting tie forever. Can you
Yeah.
imagine how hard it was for us to go virtual?
Mm.
Like,
Oh yeah.
man, that was my. And now I look back like, wow, I'm such a fool. We could have done this so many years ago, but personally, I couldn't have
Yeah,
done
the
it.
three of us right now are naked from the waist down. It's just things have changed. Things have changed drastically.
It's so
Yeah.
So
true.
Yeah.
yeah, the suit and tie thing, casual
Suit and
Fridays were a big
tie.
deal. I mean, casual
Yeah.
Friday, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah. And you going virtual, uh, pains in that. I mean, that wasn't
Yeah.
the
When did
easiest
you
thing for you guys
officially
to do, right?
flip the switch on that?
So as COVID was rolling in, let me take a step back. So timing wise, the Great Recession, we had doubled the size of our space. We had 80 cubes, and we were trying to grow, right? And then '08 hit.
Mhm.
Oh, no, it just started to all kind of fall apart. I was like, oh man, timing on this is bad. I decided like a 3-year, might have been a 5-year lease. Who the heck knows?
Yeah.
This time around, I was negotiating because our lease was up in July 1st. So we were negotiating on, a 3-year lease or 5, whatever it was. And COVID hit. It was coming, and I remember saying to my team on Monday, I brought them all into an office, a big conference room. I said, "Listen, this is not going to affect us. We're going to roll right through this.
Yeah.
It's just a
This
cold. We'll
this
be
is
fine.
nothing." And then by Friday, it was like, maybe everyone better take their computers home. And then on Monday, the government, everything was shut down. If you guys remember, we
Yeah.
never went back. Like, okay, all right. So now we're doing this. Now we got to figure this out. Like, how are we gonna move to a virtual environment, right? And that took a long time. That took just understanding and learning buying the right technology. That took a long time.
Yep.
Figuring out like there were some people that were good at virtual, there were some people that were bad at it, and there was some people that didn't like it.
Yep.
And so the people that didn't like it, that was easy. So they kind of exited. The people that bad at it, we were working, we're trying to figure out what kind of KPIs we could, how do we manage this to know if someone is doing a good job or a bad job?
Yeah, and what does bad at it mean? Bad at it, because I don't know they didn't have you watching because
Structure.
okay, they
They
weren't
just
there to
they
yeah.
couldn't handle the structure, right? If so, we learned a lot about that. Then, like if what we found is if you don't have a separate like office, something set up where you can focus your time on this job and you're moving around the house and you're in the kitchen and you're all over the place, you're not as productive. And so we found their productivity to drop dramatically,
Mhm.
and they were just bad at it.
Yep. Yep.
So then we started to hire, then we figured out the technology, we got our tech stack right, and then we started hiring. I think the first person we hired was in Texas. And we learned, have you worked virtually before? Do you have a home office?
Yep.
How do you do it? How do you manage? So we would start to interview around their ability to manage a virtual environment. And then of course we'd interview around core values and their ability.
Yep.
And then we started to perfect that. And now we have people, for example, now we have people across, I'm sorry, I'd say Central Time Zone East,
Yep.
because we learned that California doesn't work. It just doesn't work for us. They're 3 hours behind. They're getting up. We have a, huddle every morning. They're up so early that they're distracted and not there. They're not showing up. So we had to pivot and learned a bunch of things, but we've fine-tuned it. And now Central Time Zone East, that's where we hire across, in every state in that region.
Yep.
Now, how
Miss
many
the
people do you have now, Dan?
17.
Yeah, wow.
team.
Yeah, that's
Miss the office setting though, huh? A little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. You know what I don't miss? I don't miss the wasted time on what someone's wearing or what beer is in the fridge or like, all of that. I don't miss all of that like all that like I don't know, the time suck in your
yeah,
day where you're wasting time talking about uh, a million different random things that have nothing to do with growing the business.
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, I think if we could get the Star Trek technology and could beam, if everyone could beam to an office, work, and then beam home, and not
Yeah.
have to worry about commutes and things, I think that'd be the ideal scenario. We don't need the suits anymore, but the teamwork, it gets a little tougher to train. I was going to ask you, so the onboarding, how does that look for you guys when it's all virtual?
Yeah, we use something again, part of the tech stack. We use something called Trainual. So believe it or not, before it's up to a person, before they get started, we send them the trainual so they can go through all these videos and basically it's just a whole onboarding session about the company, and basically everything, how to use all of our technology, everything. So usually we would like them to be completed and have that done before they start on day one, because day one we actually want to start actually want to be somewhat productive on that first day with outreach and things of that nature. But Trainio is super helpful. So that is a lengthy onboarding process and training manual to get them up and running and started. That is super helpful. Then when they drop in day one, we look at a 30, 60, 90-day plan. We give them activity metrics on a weekly basis so they understand where they are and what they're trying to accomplish. We try to reduce as much stress as possible, because what we say to them is the people, the most pressure you're going to feel in our organization is not from anyone on the management team. It is going to be from you.
Hmm.
You are the type of personality that we hire, and that personality will put a ton of pressure on yourself. So at the end of week one, you're going to want to do more. And at the end of week 2 and 3 and 4, you're going to feel like your pipeline's not strong enough. You want to help the first person you work with find their next job and change their life. But maybe it takes more time than you think, and you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself when you're looking at a team of experienced individuals with 10 years of experience that are killing it and crushing their numbers. You're going to get frustrated and put more pressure on yourself. So let's take that off the plate, off the table, and let's just focus on building your foundation, teaching you how to do this business so that you can sustain a career here, and then we'll slowly ramp you up until you're producing like they are.
Hmm.
But take all that pressure off and just learn the business the way it should be learned. And by the way, we only hire people that come from a staffing firm, and it's amazing how many of them don't have that strong foundation.
Right.
Mm,
And that the hiring experienced people changed when you went virtual, because you in the old days you were hiring the sales kids that want to get into this industry
Exactly.
to build the teams way back then. But that has changed. I mean, yeah, we
yeah,
did the same thing. Would
Yeah.
we hire a sales kid right now that has no experience virtually? No. We'll hire somebody, that lives in New York or Texas, but
Yeah.
we'd like them to have some experience.
Yeah.
So,
Same.
yeah.
Identical.
But it's
Yeah,
funny you say
our
that the
businesses
people
are so similar. The way our philosophies are very similar,
100%. But
you know?
the fact that you said, some people once you went virtual, it's not that they were bad workers, but because the structure or they weren't in the office and didn't have that, it was a huge problem. And
Right,
we ran into that. They
right.
needed that, or they needed that escape to something. Okay, this is my office at the house.
Yeah,
They weren't just wandering. They had something to go to. They built some kind of a thing that they could go to on a consistent basis.
yeah.
Because and we had people that wanted to go back in the office. They wanted just to open it up, and unfortunately, that just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. But
I
Now, do
tell
you
you
get?
though, that I got a question for you guys. If my lease was, if I signed that lease in July, or if you signed a lease for a 3-year lease as COVID rolled in, would you be a virtual company? Like, I wonder to myself, if I had that lease on that space, it would have been really hard to be virtual because I would have constantly been pulled to having people in the office because I was spending money on the office. Do you know what
Yeah,
I
right.
mean? Like the
Well,
timing
yeah,
for me
and
was
that's what we had because
perfect.
when the shit hit the fan I'll never forget that Friday March when we got an email from the building that we were leasing in Bedford and the owner or whoever sent the email saying we're closing the office, you can't come in. And I remember saying to Jay, bullshit, they can't do that.
right.
What? No, 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 you're not. We need to go in there. We need to go in there. No, little did I know, everything shuts down. But Jay, we were still paying rent. I mean, we still had that space, and then we went back in it. How late in
Yeah.
2020 did
Oh,
we
one.
actually go back in?
At
Oh,
21, yeah, 21 we went
21.
back in it. And
Yep.
the challenge that we ran into, and it's our fault because we didn't necessarily establish any kind of rules around coming back in. And so we had three groups of people. We had people that were in every day, we had people that never went in, and then we had people that were in a few days. So it was all over the place.
Right.
And we were in that spot where we were going to either say, okay, these are the rules, we're going to be in these days, and everyone has to do that, or we're because we were coming up on the lease and we had the option in '01 to not resign, or we're not going to resign. And we felt like not resigning was the way to go because we were, some of the people that weren't coming in, it would have been really hard for us to force them in, 3 days a week for whatever reason. So we went away from it. We actually went back to a shared space back in old 23, 22, 23.
Yeah, 22, 23, a
And the
couple
same
of
problem happened. I found myself getting frustrated because, I'm in, but there was times that I was the only one that went in. And those are the days like my head would pop off. Like, why am I sitting in this office alone? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like I'm here, and it just happened to be the day that no one else went in that day. Again, there was no rules established. We didn't do that. Our fault, and it got frustrating. So we're kind of back to where we are here now. I mean, will we never be in an office again? That's a strong word. I mean, there's a lot that we miss about the office, especially training, coaching. That in the moment training, when you hear someone say something, you can hop right in. It's hard to do that. Now, I don't know if you guys have mastered that, or if you've had any strategies around how you coach, or
Yeah, it
in
is. It
just in time
is.
training.
I would agree 100%. That is a disadvantage because when you're in the office, you absorb
yes.
Yeah,
like knowledge. You like when we all grew up in the business, you absorb and hear what's happening around you.
yeah,
And that is not happening now. It's people are isolated in their own kind of silos, so they can't hear. And there's a lot of intricacies to this role, right? I mean, there's so many variables and small details and they all matter.
yeah,
And that is hard to train when you're not sitting next to somebody.
Well, the
Um,
real-time coaching, I mean, the real-time
mm,
coaching is
yeah,
gone, and I mean, that happens, 10 times a day. You hear one of your employees on the phone with a candidate, and they just need help, and hey, jump on the phone with me, and you can do that with put me on hold. Let me see if Jay or Dave's around,
yeah,
if somebody's around. Hey, you online? Can you jump on me? We have the technology to help people out in the calls, but it's not across the cube.
yeah,
It's
that's
not
right.
yeah,
somebody standing up and coordinating a cat. Hey, jump on my call, help me out. That I miss a lot.
Yeah,
That's those little nuances. You can't replace that with a Skype call.
no.
yeah. That's
You just can't. It's
what I
that's
say.
the
We could
part.
just beam in and beam out, solve all the problems. You know.
Yeah.
Now, do you plan like get-togethers? Do you get together with the team, during the year, or
We do. We obviously we do our club trip. We got everyone together in Nashville. And this fall we're gonna it's more difficult because everyone is the time of the year we find is difficult. We do our club trip, right? The end of March. Then we roll into the summer months, right? Once the summer starts to roll in, everyone gets dicey. So you get July and August, and then your kids go back to school, and then you have like that October timeframe. So where this year we're trying to figure out where, when, and how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest challenge, just getting everyone together.
Yeah.
Um,
Easier when they were all in Wakefield.
it was
Easier when they
easy.
were all
Yeah, that was a piece of cake.
piece of cake. You just get together.
Oh
Now this
God, we used to do
hours
so many
to.
events.
Yep.
A
Yep.
million, but now it's just hard. It's just harder. It's
What's
harder to
funny is
do
you
it.
guys are 100% virtual,
Yep.
and Jay focusing on the agency side. Jay, you're seeing more of the agencies trying to get back in 3 or 4 days a week. I mean, it's still.
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say 95% of our clients are in at least 3 days a week. And a few of them base it on production. Like the rookies are in 5 days a week, no matter what. And then they got to get to a certain level, GP production or whatever, and they can earn days, from home, which is interesting, But yeah, there's been a major push that started happening really last year, to get back in,
Hmm.
at least in a hybrid schedule.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can see that. I can for the especially for the entry level individuals that are getting into the
yeah,
business, I can totally see that.
Yep.
and it's definitely, for sure, the bigger agencies that hire in volume, they definitely
Yeah.
5 days a week for
Yeah.
those kids, and then for all the stuff we just talked about. But there's people that don't want to do that, and that's where the commute has become a really big issue. More so than ever before, where now candidates don't have to drive even 30 minutes if they don't want to.
Hmm.
There's opportunities out there for them to get remote roles, or at least mostly remote. So the commute gets diminished, and they're not doing rides that like they
But
used to.
Dan, you
So,
hit it on the head earlier, and Jay, it's amazing we didn't purposely change the interview questions you ask, but you absolutely have to throw in, have you ever been virtual before? Do you have an
yeah,
Yeah.
office setup? What's your internet like? All the things you need to make sure of because we can't be their first virtual job.
Mm-mm.
And if they say and the red flag is, well, I kind of like being in the office 2 or 3 days a week. Okay, then
Hmm.
no. It's
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're not going to force you to be at home if you do not want to work from home.
Yeah, that's right.
That wasn't a question 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We didn't ask that in 2019. Do you want to work from home? If anybody said yes, we would not hire them. It was the
yeah,
complete opposite in 2019. No, you got to come up to the office. You got to be in the office
yeah,
in Wakefield. What are you talking about? You want to work from home?
The
yeah,
other thing too is we're hiring professionals, right? Like they have some experience in their career, so they understand the model
Mhm.
and the opportunity, and so the right person fits this environment perfectly. Now, the younger tree line, we grew to grow, right? We were hiring, and we could take a person right out of college, or usually with 1 or 2 years of some kind of experience.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we take an enterprise, like same as you guys.
Yeah, the
We
enterprise
take a
side.
shot at them, but it
Yep.
was a really tough model because the amount of training that went into that type of individual was out of control, and then we'd lose them after potentially we were at risk of losing them after about 12 or 18 months to every other technology company on the 128 belt.
Yep.
Half the time, the people that would take our employees were our clients. I mean,
right.
they would scoop up our own employees, and transition them out of Treeline into their own company.
Yeah.
So I don't miss any of that. That's that was a lot of work. A
Yep.
lot of work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of our early days of Higher Alliance were putting the sales kids to work at other agencies, and that I don't want to say dried up. It's just not. Yeah, we haven't done that in how many years? All the agencies like a tree line. If you're going to use us, you're going to ask us for a 5-year kid. A
yeah.
5 year
Someone that's in the
a
business.
staffing
Yeah.
professional that's
Yeah,
already been in
that's
the
right.
business for 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
So, but no, those early days, the enterprise rent-a-car kids or the real estate, somebody that's in real estate, gold.
Yeah.
Give me a kid with 2 years sales experience coming
Yeah.
out of UNH, and we'll place them somewhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely, every agency wanted those kids. But you're right, the training was a bitch.
Yeah.
yeah,
You spent 3 to 6 months teaching
Yeah.
them what staffing is. Some of them grasped it, some of them did not.
Yeah.
But you're right, and then they went and did software sales, going to work for
Right.
Oracle on
yeah,
128
yeah.
for
The
for an 80
ROI on
for an
that.
80K base instead of our base plus commissions.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
I
right.
know. Yep.
yeah. The
Yep.
ROI in the training was you train 10, you lose 7. You're like, okay, I'm wasting a lot of time.
Yes.
A lot of time here on this stuff.
Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
what's so you're at 17 heads now. What's the next 5 years? Do you have ever want to be 80 again, or are we just, kind of where are you at for your plan?
Only if it's profitable. So in the early years, we really grew to grow. Like we were just growing, and I thought as a young CEO, that's what you do.
Yep.
You
Right.
more the bigger you are, the more money everyone makes. It's not the case actually. If it's running correctly, which we did plenty of times, the bigger you are, the less profitable you are.
Mm.
So now, actually, we're using a new methodology. We've been doing it for about 5, 6 years now, scaling up. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. Our business coach is Herb Cogliano. Does that name ring a bell?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Herb was a client of mine back in the day.
yeah, way,
Yeah.
way back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sullivan and Cognano, way
Oh,
back.
he's
Yeah, Herb.
he's he's awesome. He's
Yeah,
great. Anyway, so he really pounded into my head that it's all about scale, yes, but profitable scale, profitable growth. If it's not profitable growth, then you're not hiring anyone. Why would you hire? So we look at LER, labor efficiency ratios. We look at our profitability. This year, we're looking to grow at 25%, where last year we had flat numbers, 23 to 24. We set the exact same revenue, our goal basically for our entire team. And we did that intentionally. When we set a goal, for 24 years, we've basically hit it. Unless we're thrown off by like 2007
yeah,
or
no, yeah,
COVID or
Right, right,
whatever.
right.
But
yeah.
otherwise, we are on track. We hit our numbers. Um, so yeah, so for us, we set that flat goal because what we've learned is that if you set a higher goal to grow and we're not growing because the market's a little bit stagnant, now you have all this additional pressure on your team. So now they're not hitting the numbers. So every month they feel like crap. Every quarter they feel like crap. They're always behind, and their positive attitude, everything starts to, you're just sucking everything out of them. So we wanted flat numbers, which we did. This year we're looking at 25%, which we will. We're going to hit at least this first half. And as long as the economy stays with us, if there's a little uptick, then we'll stay and grow this year at 25%. And that's profitable growth. And if it doesn't, then we'll have to reconsider, pivot, and change to look at our numbers and see what happens for the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, it's for me anyway. My clients, it seems busier. Recently, it's been a weird few months. I think 2025, everyone hit the ground running just because it's the new year and like, let's go. And then I think it settled a little bit, and then all the tariff craziness got everyone nervous. But it certainly feels the last month has had a consistency to it that I've seen out there. I don't know if you've seen the same thing, but it
Oh
definitely
yeah.
feels like we're going in the right direction, which is
You,
good news.
you know where we know it is, I'm never worried about the business when we're having conversations with companies about hiring or building sales organizations. When we're not having conversations, that's when you get worried, right?
Yeah,
If you're not talking to anyone, that's a problem. But what's happened recently is the other, another like early indicator for us is past clients calling with needs. So when those return customers start coming in, we've had a lot of return customers over the past 30 days looking to grow and change. That's a positive sign that the market is moving in the right direction. When there's no people calling you back, or when there's no existing clients coming to you, then you're like, hey, what's going
yep.
on? Things are changing. If it's all outbound net new business, then the market's still a little bit stagnant. Right
Right.
now, we're seeing a little uptick, which is feels pretty good.
Yeah,
yeah,
you just described because again, Higher Alliance has two sides of the business, putting people to work in the agencies and then the talent acquisition corporate recruiting side. You just described what the TA corporate recruiting side has been looking like for, I mean, we're on year three
Mm.
as far as, I mean, because all those clients, we know them, we've had relationships with them for years and years and years. They're just not hiring.
Yeah,
TA corporate recruiting world
yeah,
has just been very quiet, so they're not hiring. Love talking to them on the phone, love shooting the shit with them, but they're like, Dave, we've got nothing.
yeah,
Or if they do, post an ad and here comes 100 people, 200 people in
yeah,
an hour that have been out of work for six
yeah,
months. There's plenty of
yeah,
corporate recruiters in the street. But luckily, like you said, the agency side, it's been busy. We just need
yeah.
25 to just keep going. kind of forget
Yeah.
22 and 23 and 24 existed. We need 25 to definitely be going in a different direction.
Yeah, I'm definitely bullish on the second half of the year. There's a lot of positive indicators floating around. Kind of like you were talking about, Dan, that you look for with your clients and the conversations you're having. And so I feel pretty strongly about what it's going. But again, I can be wrong. I'm wrong
Don't
every
don't
day.
What do we
don't
Feels
you
know?
feels right.
guys don't you guys think that being a niche player, building a brand, you are the go-to, right? For basically the recruiting industry, right? You're the go-to. Aren't you glad that you picked that? Like, did you pick to have a specific niche to go after? Or do you think you would have changed anything? Would you ever be a generalist? Um, or do you think that would be a detriment?
Well, you know what? I'll answer that question and then Jay can answer it. First of all, it was Jay's idea. I mean, let's give him all the goddamn
Hooray
credit. It
for
was
me.
Jay. So again, 2004, 2003, he said, I've got an idea. Let's do them. Nope, still think it's stupid. But what it helped with the focus of doing that, and again, that was just the agency side, putting people to work at other agencies. We did corporate recruiting a few years later. But staying within TA, staying within recruiting, staying within that niche, we veered from that in 2000, whenever it was, Jay. When did we start doing HR? Okay, we started doing HR stuff. We started, and the HR and recruiting, they do sit next to each other, but it's two completely different industry, two completely different worlds. HR, compensation analyst, benefit and HRIS, just a whole world that Jay and I, number one, aren't passionate about. He and I could never be HR people. We'd get fired in 10 seconds.
We're the power
It's just,
ourselves. It'd be very
it's
awkward.
just, it's just never a niche that we ever, but it worked. We said, oh, let's try it. Let's start that out. It lasted about a year and a half. And because it wasn't something that it wasn't a niche we were passionate about, or just it was just a pain in the ass niche that we tried. No, back to what we know, back to what we know, back to what we know. So, I mean, to just answer your question, it's been fantastic being in that niche, knowing everything about that niche, knowing everybody in it, on the agency side. And what's been fun is growing it nationally is now, okay, we know all the New England agencies, we know everybody in what's going on in New York, what's going on in Chicago, what's going on in that, what's going on up and down the East Coast. That's where the growth has been. But yeah, to say I have to thank Jay for introducing me to this niche, yes,
So
he's the
painful
boss.
for him.
I love him to death. Yeah, whatever.
Well, I'll tell you what. We would not have survived the last
Right.
3 years if we didn't have the niche
Mm.
and the reputation in the niche.
Mhm.
We just wouldn't have. The corporate has been dead for us, and we survived on our agency relationships. But I wouldn't want to be brand new trying to get an agency client today. That's tough, I
Mm.
mean, especially last year, or the year before. So yeah, 100% on the niche. And there was times when we've, like, should we do like sales, software sales, your
Mm.
kind of thing? And the conversations we'd always have is my concern was every minute they're doing that is a minute they could do what we already know and we're already good at, and then we're going to open up a door of a whole nother level of competition that we don't even understand. Because it is, when it does slow a little bit, you're like, well, maybe we can play chefs. Everything starts going through your brain, but we always come back to the niche thing, and it does really matter, because then once you're well known in that space, you're able to kind of build on that and take that with us. Like they said, we're, kind of growing it nationally. It makes a difference. But yeah, Dan, I'm 100% convinced we would not be here if we were a generalist
Mm.
in 2022 and 23 and 24.
But
Nope.
Yeah.
who is your Dave or Jay, Dan, that you bounce? Because it's easy for him and not Jay and I to have arguments and discussions about the company and coming back and yin and yang, and our employees call us mom and dad. I'm not going to tell you which one's the mom, which one's the dad. But when it comes to you and I mean, who is your partner in crime that you're bouncing, or is it just you? Is it just you in your head saying, okay, what we should do and what we shouldn't do?
No, it's definitely a team. We have a operating committee,
Okay,
and you have like Dave. Dave's been with us for 20 years, and Rachel, and of course we always go to Herb.
okay,
Herb always bouncing stuff off Herb. We have a CRO practice with Chris. So we have it's called an operating committee. We call it the OC. We sit down and meet weekly about the organization, what we're doing, how are things going, things
yep,
of that nature, brainstorming,
yep,
direction, all of the above.
yep, yep.
So it is a necessity. I couldn't do it myself, that's for sure.
You wouldn't want to.
No.
No.
Yeah, no.
With this there's just too many ideas. We're throwing around so many different ideas. We're trying so many new things. I think one of the advantages to being a niche is that there's plenty of business, right? If and think of like regionally how much business there, how many companies are in your space or our space, right? And then, all right, so expand it East Coast,
Yeah.
expand it across the nation, expand it into North America, expand, there's too much business for us. So we
Yeah.
can't handle it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but having that niche gives us a lot of focus, a lot of focus. And when a company needs help, we can, I mean, all of our roles are filled within 30 days or less, which I'm sure is probably the same for you. But we're really fast because of that niche. And that's why companies come to us. When they look to hire a salesperson, it's usually like, Dan, let's go. Let's make this happen like today. When do you need the person? It's always yesterday, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It is amazing, right? It's like yesterday, no, we're fine. Today they had one meeting and they just one project. We need 5 salespeople. It happens like that. You know what
It's,
I
it's
mean?
just like that. Like
Yeah.
boom, let's go. Go, go, go. Okay, all right, all right, we can do it. Let's go.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's
we'll get
crazy.
that call for recruiters. Like it's been a heavy sales push for the staffing firms, right? They want salespeople, obviously, to they're trying to build up the pipelines. But I will know there'll be a week, and it's coming. It's already started to happen a little bit, but there'll be a week where I'll get the 5, 6 calls. We need recruiters, like they're desperate. They went from we're all set to desperate in 24 hours,
Yeah,
because it changes. I mean, all it
yeah,
takes is one week for a staffing firm to get like 3 new clients, and they're immediately understaffed on the
yeah,
recruiting,
yeah,
and then I'll know we're really. I'm expecting those calls come in here because they've already started to come in. So we'll really know the agencies are busy when recruiting. They're calling us for recruiters, right? Because
yeah,
now the salespeople are doing their job. The recs are coming in. Oh my God, we don't have enough recruiters. Let's go. And the panic sets in.
Yeah.
Which is I like my clients to panic. That means they move.
yeah.
They're ready to go.
Is this? Are you affected by July? Does your business change in July?
It's tough. I mean, it certainly slows. The vacations are killer, right? So the people, it's either the candidate or the clients on a vacation. So July and August definitely can get longer. The process takes longer. It doesn't like slow down to a dead stop. It just if we could get something done in 2 weeks in June, it may take 4 or 5 weeks in July and August just because of the timing of stuff. But we've always seen that uptick in September. I'm a big proponent of like, people go on mental vacations and, in the summertime, and then September comes around and everyone's all of a sudden looking at their budgets and they're behind and they got to hire a bunch of people. But, we usually survive the summer pretty good. Is it different for you? Do you guys see a big
It's the
slowdown?
same thing. We have the Rex, but everything is elongated.
Yep.
Yeah,
you know, 4 weeks turns into 6 or 7 because, the hiring manager's on vacation, then the candidate's on vacation, then the CEO's on vacation. We need the office, whatever it is. It's slow. It elongates things, which also increases the chances of, failure, right? The
disaster.
longer that gets,
Yeah.
the more risk we have of losing, of it just falling apart,
Right.
basically.
Time kills all deals. We all learned
Yeah,
that in recruiter
yeah,
school.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so true.
First, first lesson they taught us.
So true.
Yeah, it is.
I don't want to say anything. I don't know if I hope he's not watching, but this has been much better than one we had with Dave Toronto. This has been more informative. This has been more structured. I kind of
Oh,
like
go.
it. I
My phone's
mean,
ringing right now. Awesome. Good. I'm gonna have to talk to him and tell him that.
we set the bar down there. Things have gone up for our second time talk. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, this
I
has
mean,
been
you
great. Now
guys.
we know we're woefully behind in everything that AI. We are like in the dark ages. So thanks for making that abundantly clear. We'll have to get going on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been great.
I
Awesome.
mean, you guys are
Thanks.
good. You guys are really good together. Like it's
Yeah.
a,
Well,
good pitch catch.
on the
Like
bad
I'm
days.
sure there's highs and lows and everything else, but in general, look at you guys. You guys work really well together, right? Like
Well, we'll
I
see.
I congratulate you on your success and everything you guys have done. You guys really are known so well in the industry. So you've done it. You've done a great job.
Well,
Appreciate
thanks
that.
for that. You
Appreciate
too,
that.
Dennis. Quarter
Yeah.
century being a business. That's not easy to do. So awesome.
No, 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 no.
Congrats on that.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much, bud.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks, man.
coming
Appreciate it.
on
Thank you.
board.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me.